Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. This afternoon, we're going to be doing a brief product demonstration of the MeazureUp AuditApp solution. We'll be going through a few different components here. First will be the mobile side, which is a digital field audit assessment that will be completed using an Apple iPad. And then from there, I will show you the email that is automatically received by all relevant stakeholders. And from there, we'll go to the dashboard, both on the enterprise side, the location-specific side, and to review actions in particular. And if there's any questions, please hold them to the end, and we can do a short Q&A. Okay. Now, everyone should be able to see my screen in just 1 minute here. Okay. So you should be able to see my iPad now, just confirming that you can in fact see it. Okay. Now, depending on the type of organization you are and how many locations and a variety of other different factors, there might be different types of assessments that you want to complete. So the first thing, your district manager, regional manager, field business consultant, whatever name you might have, will go to the specific location or store to conduct an assessment. The first thing they'll do is log into the iPad here. After logging in, they're going to see a specified list of locations that they have access to. Now, this specified list is based on privileges. One of the many features that you'll find with the MeazureUp solution is that all types of assessments are actually specific to the user, and every single type of access level is, again, specific to the user. If you want your auditor to only see 12 locations, and they're only going to see 12. If you want them to see only 5, and they're only going to see 5. Now I'm going to click the drop down. We're going to just pick the first location here, which is Avenue 000, and click drop down. Now from here, they're going to be able to pick from specific assessments. So for this audit, we're going to take a look at the monthly assessment review. Click into the monthly assessment review. We're going to click New Assessment. And then now we're going to go into the assessment. One of the great positives, again, with the MeazureUp solution is that you actually can work offline, so you never have to worry about losing data or information. The only time you do have to be connected is when we start an assessment and when we submit an assessment. So to start, you click the button on the bottom right. That's just right here. And then you see now all the different categories are going to turn blue. Now, from this point on, we actually don't need Wi-Fi. The only time we're going to need it is at the end of the assessment. So now if you see here, these are the different categories. And again, this is fully customizable, totally up to yourself or your brand or whoever's managing the program on how many categories, assessments, and even what weights to control in the back end. So we've built a special rules engine that allows for custom weights across the assessment. You can make them all even weighted, or you can make them maybe, for example, customer service is more important for your business at the time than the branding. And so you might have one component that's specific to the brand and one that's food, health, safety, whatever it is, and then the points are going to be specific to it. First, why don't we jump into quality and food safety? So we're going to go in here, and now you're going to see some of the different types of questions. First, there are different sections. So you see personal hygiene, food safety. If I click all sections, here you can actually pick between and only look at some versus others. So now we're looking at food safety. Go and click yes, no, yes. And you see as we're responding, it's actually updating in real time. You can see the light bulbs on the left going from red, green, switching from the stagnant blue. See here, the scores are changing as we go. Now, one thing to note, again, this is all fully customizable. So while we are showing a list here, you are actually responsible for providing a list. And the reason for that is very simple. Nobody really knows your operations as well as you do. And so what our recommendation is, send us your existing Excel file or PDF document, whatever you guys are using. let us take it back. We'll review it, massage it, and input it into the system as we see fit. And then we'll set up a consultation meeting where we can go through it, and you can advise us of any points you'd like us to change, add, create, or make different. And that's all included in the implementation process. So now a few little points to point out. For this question, hot water heaters are functioning and set to 140 Fahrenheit. You see that there's a small icon there. And that's to signify there's actually more information hidden behind it. So if I swipe left, now you see that the info tab is highlighted green here. I'm going to click on that, and then you're going to see now it says, hot water heaters do not have any flammable materials stored within 3 feet of them. This is information that you might want your district manager to be aware of when they're out in the field. Another example might be if you're creating an LTO or a limited time offer product, you might have a description of what would be considered the proper execution of it. So perhaps the question relating to, was the new limited time offer item mentioned at checkout or at the cash? In the info tab, you might include the specifics of what they should have been saying. Now we'll go back, and we'll go to all sections. It's going to update here, and now you can see all the different sections present. So now we're going to go through, and we can continue to answer yes, no, yes, yes. Now if we swipe left, there's a few other little pieces of functionality. First, I'd like to point out is not applicable. Let's say there's a question that might not resonate with the specific location you're at. The rest of your assessment form is the same, but perhaps there's a question relating to the sidewalk being clean. Well, maybe you're at a location that's actually inside of a mall or somewhere where there is no sidewalk. You don't want that question to have to be answered yes or no. And alternatively, you don't want it to impact the overall score. I'm going to select the not applicable button, and then what it's going to do here is actually remove it from the equation entirely, neither affecting the numerator or the denominator, allowing the score to be completely unencumbered by that question. Now you can see that all 5 of here, 10 out of 10 is 100, and that just totally removed that single question. Now if we go down here to another section, you see there's a small red dot on this one over here. That's to signify that this is actually a critical task. Maybe there are certain tasks that are weighted more or they're more important, and so you'll actually flag them during configuration so that your district managers or managers in the field are aware of what we're looking at. Now, if I swipe left here, a few more points to show. I click the comment button. You can actually add comments. So, hey, this is not correct, check mark, and then it's going to do a imprint of the date and time and name of who actually did that comment. That way you can really document it always on each individual task, and you're never going to lose any comments. Next, most commonly shown occurrence that can happen after a comment is obviously a picture. You go here, and then you can see on the camera, take a picture, it's going to be captured and added right into the assessment. Now, when it's added into the assessment, it's going to be tracked for all time. Click the attach button, and then you can see it shows up there. Another feature, if you'd like, is you can click the paperclip here and attach any photos, or alternatively, you can delete any photo with the garbage right there. And again, timestamped and dated with your name. We'll go back, you'll see now there's a small red dot here. That's just to signify that there's more information that's been added to make it really visual. Now we'll go to the next question, make that a no. Go to the next question here, and we're going to look at the action functionality. So let's say there's a situation where something is so wrong that you actually want there to be a follow-up or something that needs to be done about it. So for this question, we're going to click the action. All open goods are in sealed containers. We'll say containers were not sealed. This must be fixed very soon. We can assign this to somebody in the store. So let's assign it to Dave Jones. And we'll even put a due date. Let's put it for 2 days from now. Click Save, and it's going to be added right into the system. And you see that red dot that's there, click No. Now, this action plan is not just going up into the air to never be seen again, but rather when we go to the dashboard, we have a dedicated portal specifically for action plans, tracking whether they're open, closed, what their status is, or if they've actually been added any comments or photos to it. So we'll speak a little bit more in a little bit about it, but the basics is that these are tracked and there is a level of accountability and consistency that's going to be instilled automatically just by creating these on the fly. Now, so far we've been looking at a lot of yes, no's, but there's many different types of questions we can do. So for example, at the bottom here, you see it's a walk-in freezer. You can put in a specific temperature score. So here we'll put in, 3 degrees, it's going to pass, and that's widescreen. But let's say we put it as 9 degrees, it's going to fail and it turns red. So you can do numeric answers, multiple choice, yes, no's, and then we even have Bluetooth thermometer functionality. So you see in this score here, over here, if it has the thermometer and we're using one of our Cooper Atkins Bluetooth thermometers, you can actually just double tap on it and the score will be populated right into the score there. The beautiful thing about using the Bluetooth thermometers is that it eliminates any possibility of contamination by humans or even just any human error, really making it the most consistent and safest experience, especially when we're talking about health and safety. Now, let's say there's an entire section that isn't applicable. Maybe you want to remove it entirely. Click Not Applicable. It's going to warn you, and then this entire section is now going to be worth 0, similarly to how the specific questions that were not applicable work. Go back, and you see the score has been updated. We have a 33%. Maybe not so great, but that's our score there. And then very similar for any of the other ones. Go into food and flavor, for example. Go here, yes, no's. Is the food fresh? Multiple choice. We can say okay, and then you can have different points allotted for it. Really, whatever type of questions you would like, we can do a full range of them. Now, just to continue the demo along, you see they can all be updated. Again, fully customizable. You can have different weights for each question, sections, categories. We even have advanced rules where you could say, if this question fails, then the whole section fails, things of that nature. Last thing we're going to do is go to submit the audit. It's going to show you any action plans that were created. You can have the manager in the store sign off, and then you can even have yourself sign off. You go to submit. It's going to warn you if you haven't done any of the tasks, and then you're going to submit it through. And that's it for the mobile side. And again, we were doing this on an Apple iPad. It is our recommended device, but of course, we are fully accessible from any Android, iOS, phone, or tablet. I'm going to pause the screen here, and we're going to take you to the next step. Okay. The next thing that will happen here is you're going to receive an email. So all the relevant stakeholders that's been added into the system for that specific location are going to receive an email as soon as the assessment is complete. Here we're going to see the location name. You're going to see the specific location that it was supposed to be at, and then you're going to even see where the device was when it was being conducted. Also, you can see the start and end time, so you can see how long an assessment took. And you can actually know if an assessment was supposed to take 2 hours, you see it only took 15 minutes. Probably something that needs to be reviewed again because it was not done appropriately. As we scroll down, we're going to see some of the scores, yearly average, previous score, current score, just to give you a quick snapshot of the trending of this store. You'll even see some of the categories and how they've been scoring. From there, you're going to click Detailed Assessment, and that will drive you to our dashboard. On our dashboard, we have a few different components. The first thing is from the email, it's going to drive you here to the Audit Dashboard. Now, once we arrive here, a few things to note. Similarly to the email, it's going to say the location, where the device was during the specific assessment, even the rank, and how many points and scores. When you click here, this is almost like a digital filing cabinet. All of your assessments are going to be stored here for all of time, all in the cloud. And once again, you own all this data. If you want to, you can export it to a CSV file or download it as a PDF to print and create your own reports with. While we don't recommend that as we are trying to reduce paper, it is an option. As we know, some people still like to do this. Now we'll go through here and you can see the different categories. If I click on one, it's all going to update below. We use what's called a dynamic dashboard, which basically just means that as we click, it updates below. If we go down here now to action plans, we're going to be able to see all the action plans that were done on this assessment. So if we click show all here, we're going to see there was 2 action plans. Now, the first one, you can see both are still open. You can have the person that it was assigned to, they can go in and they can say, hey, this was done. And they can click this and they can add a photo to the assessment, click comment, and then they can add it on right into the action. Once it's been verified, they can actually close it out and make it from open to close. One thing is that you're going to be able to see all the history for this action plan, so that way it's never lost or wonders who did what. Alternatively, you can go in and you can actually change the due date, change it to tomorrow. You can even assign to someone different. You can say, Red MeazureUp, click save, and it's going to be sent an email right directly to him. You could even edit the actual action if you would like. Now from here, similarly, you can go look back in time, and then you can go to the Actions dashboard. And from the Actions dashboard, we can see every single action plan that was ever created for this specific location, how many are overdue, how many are completed. We can pick the amount of time. So let's just go back to January, beginning of the year. You can see there's 11 that are still overdue. Not so good for the store. You can see how many are completed, and so on. And again, the dynamic dashboard, why don't we isolate food procedures? And you can see there's only one here. Now, if we go up back to the audit page, go here, we can see any photos, any comments that were created for this assessment. And they're all, again, stored for all of time. Go to the dashboard, and here you can see specifically for one location, all the information pertaining to it. So if we go through here, we can see each individual assessment that was completed. You can see how they're scoring. Now, we're going to highlight the last 3 quarters, all the assessments. If we go down, I can see what the total failed frequency is across the organization within those 3 quarters. So we know grill temp is something that has failed 5 times, and that's obviously something that needs to be brought to the attention of the store manager because clearly it consistently is happening. Now, if we start to isolate and say, okay, quality of food safety is the lowest performing category, let's single that one out. And then now here, we can start to see exactly what goes into that specific category and what's failing, which is chicken internal temperature, and so on. And then here, if you wanted to just search a specific task, you could just type in that, and then it's going to show you all the ones related to that. Again, this is our specific location dashboard. Now we're going to go to the aggregated view that's showing across the entire organization. Now I'm going to click here, and we're going to look at all the data for the organization for all 46 locations over time. A few things to point out is that you can use a date picker to really select which timings that you want to look at. The next is you can filter based on brands, filter based on different markets or geographic regions, and even location types. So maybe you have a dine-in, or maybe you have a drive-in location, or perhaps you have locations that are located at university campuses or maybe in a stadium, and they would be different. And obviously franchise and corporate to just really be able to compare the two. Now, if we go, we can see what the score is. And then on the frequency graph here, we can start to see what stores are actually failing in what level of the graph. So you can see 12 stores scored between 90 and 95, with the majority being between 85 to 90. Now, if we go down here, we can start to rank the scores. We can start to rank the scores based on their performance. So you can see Exeter's #1, Spring is #2, and so on and so forth. Now, again, this is all something that's specific to the access you have. So I'm just going to switch my screen here. Now, if we go here, this is the view for a specific auditor or a specific district manager. So now let's say you have 101 locations, but this person only has access to 5 locations. When they go in, they're only going to see the 5 locations. Here you can see which of their stores are falling within which score. Then they can go to this benchmarking line and see how their stores stack up against the comparison of the organization. So in May, for example, they had a 79. The average for the company was 89.4. Also, they can see what the rank of their scores are. So they see their Dallas-Buckner location is ranked 11th, whereas their St. Mary's is ranked 79. Probably some work to do for these guys. And again, the benchmarking line is consistent for the entire dashboard, so that they can really track how they're performing and understand what they should be working towards. A few small things here, they can just filter if they want to look at just food quality. You can isolate that similar to the location-specific page. And same thing over here. You can change it based on what you want to look at. I'm going to switch back to the normal view, or sorry, as we call it, the super user view. So this is the view where you have access to all locations. Again, you can see here, April, May, no assessments done, but it was trending upward, and then it went down to a 91. Now, here's something to point out. If we go down to failed frequency, and right now we have everything included, we see that grill temp, steak internal, and chicken internal temp has failed 41 times across the entire organization during the year. Now, if that were something that was showing up for one specific location, then perhaps it would be something you would want to tell a manager. But now we're seeing it across the organization, meaning this is probably an area that really training needs to get involved because it's a systemic problem that's been happening across all of the locations in the organization. Now, if we go to the user report, this is a page where you can start to compare all the different users and some of the and how they've been performing. So again, similar filters as before. You can go in and you can select specific district managers and how they've been performing at their areas across the company. And by select all, you can see for Ray which specifically assessments and what locations have been really hurting him. And this is something that you can download also as a PDF so that you could see where the big areas that need improvement. Now, last things to show you over here. If we just go to the user report, again, you can see it all based on specifically who conducted which scores. Now, last, some people have asked us about configuration and how easy it is to set up. Well, with us, we do all the initial implementation for you. And then after that, we've created a user-friendly dashboard here, or configurator, so you can make changes on the fly as you see fit. You can go in, you can create new stores. Stevenson 15, search a location, 125, Lexington, choose dine-in, and even choose a market, and then you can add it. Click there and it'll add it. Users, same thing. You can go in and actually add users as you see fit. Roles, again, you can create custom privileged roles with different levels of access based on what you would like it to have. And notifications when who should receive what email, all based on your preferences. Go into assessments, it's a drag and drop. so you can really easily, flexible, make decisions and changes. Go in, you can even create a task, pick which input. So let's just put it as a yes, no. And we can say, is the food prepared correctly? Yes, no. Let's make it 2 points for a yes, 0 points for a no. Why don't we make it a critical task? Click OK, and then it's going to be added right into the section. And again, we can just drag and drop to change the order. So overall, that's it today for the presentation of the demo. Really want to thank everybody for coming today. And if there's any specific questions, concerns, thoughts, I'd be happy to answer any. So I'll just open the floor up to some Q&A right now. So we got one question here, and that's specifically with the action plans. The question is, can we update action plans after the fact? Yes, so not sure if you recall earlier, but one of our newer features is that you can actually create action plans. One, you can create them after the fact on tasks. Let's say you saw an answer that you didn't like, you can create them. Or alternatively, you can actually even make an action plan that was already existing, assign it to someone new, or make updates to it. So that's really easy for us to do, and that's something you can manage on yourself. Next question. In terms of the data and analytics, how easy is it to review each assessment independently? So for that, we actually have the dashboard split out so that one dashboard is specific for the enterprise-wide and the other is for location-specific. So if you wanted to dive down and look at a location-specific, all you have to do is go, I can actually show you on the screen here, but all you would have to do is go to the location-specific dashboard, and then you can go and prove it that way. Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you everyone for taking the time today. I really appreciate it. If you do have more follow-up questions, feel free to email me, Ray, R-A-Y, at MeazureUp.com. That's MeasureUp with a Z. And we will be in touch. Otherwise, look out for our next webinar coming in the next few weeks. Thank you, and have a great rest of your day.